Hey guys, a little bit different setting for a Gridiron Football Player of the Week show. How about the Caesar Superdome on the sidelines? So obviously you're catching us right after day one of the state championship games. If you're watching, it's live on YouTube at 6 o'clock. So we'll be singing at this point, as you're watching it right now, you'll be singing Franklinton, and you'll see Cecilia warming up at this point. But joined by Alex Allison. Alex, this is a unique setting, but we're going over Gridiron Football Player of the Week for Week 14. So these is from the semifinal games, and a lot of these players we'll go over on this list will be playing on this field behind us tomorrow. So, Alex, let's go right into it and go over the top 10 Gridiron Football Player of the Week nominees. Of course, these are all based on the order of fan voting. So let's go and talk about it. At number 10, Alex, we have Elijah Haven coming in with 11 votes, playing for the Dunham Tigers, the number one quarterback in the class of 2027. He completed 18 of 36 passes for 295 yards, 3 touchdowns, also had 179 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. He can do a little bit of everything, throwing and running. That's the reason why he's the number one quarterback in the country of 2027. And everybody is calling for his services in just a couple of years. 474 total yards and 6 total touchdowns. He has turned it on in the playoffs, and there's he's a huge reason why. And maybe you can say the main reason, but that they are in the Dome, that they will be playing for a state championship tomorrow. Alex, I mean, that was a 46-22 win over Bunkie. Ever since that comeback victory, right, against LCA, it seems like everything's been clicking for him.
Yeah, we were staring down the barrel. I say the reason, not to belittle the rest of the Dunham team. That's a great team, and they won a lot of games this year. Just not despite of him, but like because of other parts of the team. The defense was really good when he was off sometimes, because he's a kid, right? Like that happens. Number one player in the country, absolutely, but he's a kid. But we look back, staring down the barrel of that LCA game, where LCA probably would be in the Dome right now if they had won that game. All respect due to Bunkie. I'll talk about that in a second. But they're up by 17 in the fourth quarter, and it's like, okay, well. But, Elijah, they have the best player, like maybe the best player in the state of Louisiana. Maybe now he's up there. He's so good. You
can make a case.
Harlan Berry's here, I guess. But, he's up there. He's one of the best players in the state of Louisiana right now as a sophomore. And he showed it, and he showed it that week. And then he played against Bunkie, two teams that I thought were very similar teams, but I gave Dunham the edge because of him, because he's the better quarterback than Dylan Compton, as good as Dylan Compton is. And Bunkie's a great team. I got a chance to see them. They're an awesome team, great defense. They win in a lot of different ways. And for Bunkie to not just win, but to for Dunham to not just win, but to pour it on them the way they did. I gave a reaction full transparency. I kind of knew the stats going into the week and all. I've seen that, but I forgot. I knew that he had 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. I forgot he had almost 200 rushing yards. That is so ridiculous. That is. Yeah, I mean, he's a really good passer, and the one game I got to see of him was him in the Jamboree throwing the ball really well, but he can run it really well too. He is an elite player for a reason. He's a dual threat quarterback, and he can put up just a video game stat line like this every once in a while, and against one of the best teams in their bracket, and one of those really wide open brackets like Division III. He's so good. Obviously, regardless of his placement here, he's only number 10 on Player of the Week because he only got so many votes. He's one of the best players in the state.
Oh, absolutely, he is. And we have at number 9, he's actually going to be playing in the Gridiron Football All-American Bowl games. We got a Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game commit, and that is a guy that you saw in person. So, a lot to talk about this young man, Jalen Nichols for the Neville Tigers, class of 2025 running back, and just another really good running back that just gets lost in the shuffle because of all these great running backs in the state of Louisiana. He comes in with 18 votes. Jalen Nichols in a losing effort in the semifinals against Central. 22 carries for 258 yards and 2 touchdowns, 17-13 in the semifinals, and he scored both touchdowns, really kept Neville in it, gave him a really good chance for them to be playing on this field behind me on Saturday, but came up with just a couple couple points short. But yeah, great performance from Jalen Nichols. We're going to see him. We're excited to see him in the Gridiron Football American Bowl game. And shout out to his uncle, James Taylor. He helps us a whole lot. He was trying to help lead the way with the votes. Unfortunately, just wasn't able to get a lot. But Alex, talk about, you're there. You saw him in person. Talk about his performance, how impressive it was, even though it was on the loss.
Yeah, James Taylor and 17 other people, unfortunately, couldn't quite get any more. But shout out to him, of course. But yeah, Jalen Nichols, he's legit. He's the guy, and their O-line's really good. This was the spectacular matchup to watch in the Central game. The Central D-line and the Neville O-line, both teams came to play. Central won the game in a large part because their D-line was so good. But in spite of the only word I could really use to describe them was psychopathic defensive line. Despite that, he still had this stat line. And to put it in perspective how impressive this was, JT Lindsay in the Ash Rustin game, had I want to say a nearly identical stat line in that game. Maybe he had 3 touchdowns instead of 2, but very similar stat line, like 20-something carries, 250 yards. They won that game 40-36.
Yeah.
That's usually what a stat line like this against a great team would normally give you. But that just wasn't what this game was. He was really their entire offense today. Yeah. And despite Central being so good defensively up front, he was still, that's how good he was. He looked unbelievable. I watched JT Lindsay play this year. I watched Harlan Berry play this year. Jalen Nichols is the 3rd best running back I've watched this season, and the gap is less wide than people make it out to be. Obviously, Lindsay and Berry are special, but Nichols is really, really good. He looked up. It's the vision that really stood out. That he makes the quick cuts and the vision, and he has he has a great offensive line behind him, but in front of him. But he is fantastic, and feels like a lot of people feel like maybe Neville should have been the team playing in the Superdome, and we got a really interesting outcome, and that's no shot at Central. Congratulations to them and winning in spite of Jalen Nichols having this superhero-like performance. But a large part of the reason people kind of felt that way is because Nichols is so good and so explosive and unbelievable. The first play of the game, he breaks off the 75-yard touchdown. I'm like, oh, is this going to be ugly? Yeah. It isn't. Central ends up winning the game, but that's the kind of explosivity that we'll get to see in the bowl game.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing him playing it as well. We're going to go to our number 8 player, Diesel Solari from Cecilia, that we will be seeing on this field tomorrow as we're watching it. Diesel, just doing Diesel things, man. And Shaq, actually, I gave a shout out to the Cecilia Bulldog team, and he mentioned, of course, Diesel. I gave a shout out to Diesel. Of course, that's his nickname. 21 votes coming in at number 8. Diesel, he's been leading this team as a number 18 seed. I don't get why they're number 18 seed. Me and Grant can argue. I mean, can talk about it so much throughout the course of the playoffs. But he was completed 13 of 16 passes, 204 yards. In 4 touchdowns. One of the more efficient performances for him throwing the ball, but we know what he can do running the ball. 13 carries, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's 319 total yards and 6 total touchdowns, and a 55-35 win over Plaquemine in the semifinals. And once again, Diesel Solari. It was the Diesel Solari show, leading the Bulldogs for the 2nd straight year to the state championship.
If Cecilia wins the state championship tomorrow, it'll be it's going to be because their offense was unstoppable, and he's the engine behind that offense, both throwing and running the ball. He's the star, and it's a Cecilia team that's done some really interesting things this year. The backup quarterback got a Gridiron Football Player of the Week finalist mention.
Yeah, he's a Gridiron Football bowl game committee.
He's a Gridiron Football. Ellis Stewart, he's really good too. He's a bowl game guy. Shows you what this team has, and why, despite being an 18 seed, and we can go into the reasons why that would happen and the weird mathematical formulas behind the seeding, but they're one of the most dangerous 18 seeds we've ever seen, and they're showing why that their offense is unstoppable when they're the only people that can stop that offense is themselves in injuries. Yep. And they poured it on Lutcher, and they really poured it on Plaquemine, a pretty good Plaquemine team. Yeah. And now they're going to get a Franklinton team that has a very different style to them in terms of how they win football games, and I'm really excited to see that. But it's been one of the revelations of the playoff bracket, because we knew Cecilia was good. We knew Cecilia was a really good team. They should be higher seeded, whatever. we didn't think they were gonna beat Lutcher.
No.
and we didn't think that they were gonna do what they did on offense against Lutcher. And ever since, it's been like, oh, North DeSoto, really good football team, 57.
Yep.
Oh, Plaquemine, really good football team, 55.
Yeah.
Are they gonna drop 50 on Franklinton too and just have this like god run of one of the best offensive runs in the playoffs we've ever seen? They very well might.
Oh yeah, very well.
Very well. But there's a good chance the other team can score 50 points too. So we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. At number 7, this is a guy we'll see on Saturday, and he's actually probably the biggest headlining name out of all the players I'll be playing in the Superdome.
We've already mentioned him.
Oh yeah, we've already actually mentioned him in the show already. Good teaser there, Alex. We're going to go to number 7. That is JT Lindsay playing for the Ash Trojans. What a year the Trojans are having, going undefeated, have a chance to really be claim the title of the best team in the state of Louisiana, and they're led by the LSU commit at running back JT Lindsay. Talk about Dartez's record being in jeopardy of 47 carries. Yeah. Well, JT had 41 carries for 252 yards and 2 touchdowns and a 24-13 win over John Curtis. He did that against John Curtis, which was really impressive. And obviously, Alex, he's a big reason why he chose the Trojans to win the state championship. And having that type of performance, 41 carries, 252 yards, and 2 touchdowns against the GOAT, JT Curtis, and the Patriots to go to the Dome. Just another masterful performance by the future Tiger.
Yeah, and we saw this John Curtis team that was at its weakest still beat an Acadiana team that a lot of people thought was going to be in the state championship game this year. So this was still John Curtis. This is still JT Curtis, and still that defense that puts a stop to the run, doesn't allow this to happen. And so for JT Lindsay to do this to that team, regardless of the explosivity of the offense or whatever criticism you want to make, he was awesome. There's a reason why he's seen as pretty consistently the second best running back in the state of Louisiana, when the number 1 happens to be the number 1 running back in the country.
Yeah.
So that's a bit untouchable. But JT Lindsay, he's going to LSU for a reason, guys.
Yeah.
He's so good.
He's good.
And I made the bold and I think Grant has said maybe bad take of saying Ash is going to beat Endicott. I mean, it's a close game.
Everybody else.
They beat everyone else.
Really
These are two. I think they're the 2 best teams in the state, and they're 2 like top 50 in the nation kind of teams.
Yeah,
that's how good we're talking about. The last ranking I saw had Endicott 49 and Ash at 51 to kind of give you an idea.
48 more teams better.
It's hard to think of 48 teams better than either of them, but that's how good both of them are. And so from my perspective, it's a heavyweight bout. One of them is going to win. One of them is going to lose. I really like this Ash team, but either of them can win, obviously. And I think you and one of you're going to talk about it a lot on Saturday, of course, as one of the maybe the game everyone's most excited for. But this game, JT Lindsay, and we'll see if he has 50 carries. He beats out John today. But congratulations to him. They've got one more thing to do with this team of destiny, but beating John Curtis and doing it in the way they did, pretty comfortably. I know the final score was only 11 points, but they were up 24-0 pretty comfortably because of him, because he's the workhorse.
It's like you need one more test to be the valedictorian. This is the final test in order to be that, and it's the biggest one of them all in the car. So we'll obviously talk about that a whole lot. Logan Graffield will be joining me on Saturday. We'll go to number 6, and this is a guy we just talked about the last show. We actually just talked about him actually just a couple of seconds ago, and it is Johnny Football. Nope, not Johnny Manziel. We're talking about Jonathan Dartez. Or Unitas either. We're going to talk about Jonathan Dartez. If you're a Johnny, you can play football. And he is. 234 votes for Jonathan Dartez. Consistently been on this list every single week. He's really got my vote for Louisiana Gatorade Player of the Year. Just how he's been playing, winning a state championship. He just won, but this was actually the week before. 40 carries. Feels weird to talk about it. 40 carries. So that's like 87 carries in just the last 2 weeks. 40 carries, 213 yards.
I'm tired watching it.
Yeah. 4 touchdowns. He also completed 6 of 9 passes for 103 yards and another touchdown. 313 total yards, 5 total touchdowns, and a 33-0 win over Kentwood. And of course, that's a precursor to him I'm gonna save you the trouble. He is gonna be a nominee for the Week 15 Gridiron Football Player of the Week. But Alex, again, of course, we just talked about it.
Feels weird talking about this after he just dropped 47 carries in the dome and 350 yards of total of all-purpose and all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, he also did that last week too. We're getting to the point where like 50 total touches or 60 total touches even, and 300 yards of offense is like actually kind of pedestrian for him, which is completely insane to say, but there's a reason why I am of the very public opinion that he should have won Gatorade Football Player of the Year. Harlem Berry is, yes, he's the 5-star. He's the best running back in the country, all of that stuff. Dartis had the better season in terms of stats, in terms of performance, in terms of team success, all of that stuff.
All that.
He had the better season, and he's the all-time. And look, I mean, it's whatever. It's an award, right? He's the all-time career touchdown leader. He won the state championship. That's what he cares the most about. But when we start talking about Gridiron Football Player of the Year, we don't know what'll happen next week. Maybe he'll win, maybe he won't. But regardless, he'll be the first person we talk about when we talk about people that are not Gridiron Football Player of the Weeks that get nominated for Player of the Year. Yep. He's the first guy because his season was that special, because he's been on this list 6, 7, 8 times.
Yeah, like Coach Prejean's like, Coach Prejean, what you got? What's Johnny's stats this week? Because he sent it to me every single week. So, it's just been incredible watching him, and he's definitely earned any accolades and accomplishments as well. Great team leader as well. Yeah, let's go into our top 5, Alex. And this is another guy it's weird talking about because we just saw him play. T.J. Birch from Sterlington. He was part of that really 3-4-headed monster for Sterlington, and he's one. We talk about St. James that return a lot of players. Sterlington's returning a lot of players. He's one of them. T.J. Birch, 2027 running back, so a sophomore. He had 311 votes by the Sterlington fans. He had 13 carries, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns, also a 32-yard touchdown catch, and a 48-14 win over Gina. I know Sterlington was trying to go back-to-back because Hagen Herring won the Gridiron Football Player of the Week in Week 13, but just coming up short, making a top 5 finish for T.J. Birch.
Yeah, you want to go back-to-back, right? Hagen Herring just won in what was like one of the most eventful games, and what ended up being, as Sterlington's now the state champion, one of the most important games of this entire like playoff season these last 5 weeks. But the Gina win is huge because it's a semifinal win against a really good team, a team that made it to the semifinals last year as well. Yep. And to be able to not just win, but pour it on Gina, to beat Gina really heavily, and he was the engine. We saw it today when they just beat St. James that they have 5 guys. They roll 5 deep at the running back position. And so it can be, and we might see this again next year where, this week it's T.J. Birch. Next week, it's somebody else who had 18 carries and 300 yards. It's somebody else who had 20 carries and 250 yards. And we might get like 3 of them winning player of the week or something like that. He made a run at it this week, came up short. That's all right. Hagen Herring won it last week, kind of represented Sterlington in a way. Even though he came up short, still a great season for him, and they just capped it off the way they really wanted to, right, as state champions. So congratulations to him and everybody there at Sterlington. What a great team and a great running back room.
Well, Alex, at number 4, congratulations to Sterlington as well, by the way of winning the state championship, which is weird saying it right now. But at number 4, we're actually talking about another player that you saw, and this is actually on the winning side of that performance, and he made a pretty big difference. And not big like the 5-6 touchdowns, not stat padding number 1, but the plays he made were pretty important to the team's success. Marvin Joseph from Central High School. Remember, he's going to also be playing the finale, which I will be so glad at that point that we finally reached the end, because hopefully I still have some sanity left. But Marvin Joseph, he scored 2 touchdowns. One was a rushing touchdown, and then obviously it was the big touchdown that will go on and on in Central football lore, and that was a 92-yard blocked field goal return for a touchdown when it looked like that Neville would go up by 6. Talk about how the pendulum swings, right? Now Neville's looking at a 4-point deficit because of Marvin Joseph returning a 92-yard blocked field goal for a touchdown to send the Wildcats to the Superdome.
Yeah, we talked about Jalen Nichols earlier. And you're like, this one game, Jalen Nichols only had 2 touchdowns. Marvin Joseph only had 2 touchdowns. What are they doing here? They were all of the touchdowns in the entire game. In the entire game, those 2 players. So, yeah. And this was a low-scoring game with two of the best defenses in that bracket, two elite defenses that can bring it. And so, yeah, it was low-scoring. 2 touchdowns is a lot of touchdowns in a game like that. Marvin Joseph also is primarily a defensive back. He plays a little bit of wildcat. That's why he scored the rushing touchdown. But he's primarily a corner safety defensive back. And so for him to score both of the touchdowns is really weird, which means we don't have his full defensive stat line. But we know he had some tackles. He had some other stuff going on than just those 2 plays. So for him to have those 2 touchdowns and everything else is really impressive. But it's really all about the field goal block.
Yeah.
We talk about player of the week and we'll talk about player of the year. In my opinion, in my very biased opinion, because I was there and I got footage of it, I think it's, as of now, maybe today or tomorrow or Saturday will change things, but as of right now, the play of the year in Louisiana high school football, considering the stakes, the unbelievable nature of the play, like, incredulous that it happened. There ain't no way Neville lost like that, right? Just, that was the reaction. It was unfathomable. You could hear a pin drop on the Neville sideline afterwards. It was unbelievable, the field goal block. And then, more importantly, by the way, KD Mays had the field goal block.
Of course.
Also a superstar. That dude looks awesome.
Yep.
In large part of the reason why they won the game on the defensive front. But he had the field goal block, but Marvin Joseph, because that Central offense was really sputtering. They were shut out in the second half. They needed the return. Mm-hmm. And so for him, the playmaker, coach said afterwards, David Semino said afterwards, second I saw him have the ball in his hands, I knew it was going to go back for a touchdown, because that was who he was. He was one of those leaders on that defense. He was special. And so for Marvin Joseph to be able to do this, unbelievable, the play of the year, sending Central to the state championship game for the first time in 58 years, first time they will ever be playing in the Dome, what it means to everyone in that community, in that city, transforming a program in the span of one play. It's the biggest one basically anyone at Central High School has seen, unless they're very old. So congratulations to him, everybody there at Central. Well deserved for maybe the play of the year in Louisiana football.
And Marvin Joseph came in with 316 votes, by the way, and he's another sophomore, 2027 class. So they're growing on trees in Louisiana. You know that for a fact. At number 3. Another guy you just watched, as weird as this really sounds after recording this, but Jawan Jackson, St. James, talking about young talent, a freshman quarterback, and we had a great showing here tonight despite a losing effort, coming in with 960 votes from a semifinal win, and to send this team to the Dome as a 9th grader, as a 14-year-old, is saying a lot. 20 for 26. 325 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 43-36 win over Union Parish for a while. Up there covering the game and watching it from up there in the press box, I'm sure you agree that it felt like it was going to be kind of like that 43-36 game in Union Parish the week before. Yeah,
we felt like this game had a lot of shades of the other games St. James has played against both of these teams, Sterlington and Union Parish, whether it was the state championship game last year where, so I'll briefly talk about this. Their kicker goes down in the middle of the drive that they could tie the game up because it's also their starting running back. Whatever. And so I'm thinking in my head, are they going to score a touchdown and then need to go for 2?
I was thinking that too.
Maybe. Just like last year. And then, again, it had a very similar rhythm to that Union Parish game last week, where these two teams were just shot for shot because he's so good and they're so good. And we talked about the Sterlington running backs earlier in the show. They're awesome. But he's to beat Union Parish, revenge in that fantastic state championship game last year. Mm-hmm. To get revenge on them in the way they did, in the way he did. He wasn't on the team. He's a freshman, right?
Yeah.
He's too young to fail in a way.
Pretty much.
But he went out there and made that St. James team, that program, really proud. And it was a special performance and it was a special team. Even though they came up short today, they'll be back because this is a base, a really young team, and this is a base that's gonna get older and get better. And they get what this is about now. This is a great team, and he's just gonna get better. The sky's the limit for that kid.
Oh, absolutely. he's going to be a problem to deal with. Guess what, y'all? Yeah. Division III non-select, you're going to have to deal with that guy the next 3 years. So 960 votes. Jawan Jackson, he is going to be a star. And St. James has always had great quarterbacks play, and he's going to be another great quarterback for this program. Only 2 more to go over, Alex, and we're done here. Number 2, this is actually a guy I called his game, this very game, from in the car, and as John Johnson. Yeah, John Johnson, right. 6,560 votes for John Johnson. So, I can't really clap, but you can clap for me. Round of applause for the In the Car Cougars, and hopefully they can finish the deal. Maybe John Johnson gets a Player of the Week if he gets to win, especially over Ash. But what a season John Johnson has had. He's definitely grown from last year as a sophomore to as a junior quarterback. They won the game. I called it against Catholic, and I was really excited to call this football game for a lot of obvious reasons. But he scored all 3 touchdowns. Talk about making it count. Yeah. He scored all 3 touchdowns. It was a 2-point win, by the way, 21-19 over Catholic High. John Johnson was 10 for 19, 146 yards, a touchdown pass to Dejon Smith, the Louisiana Tech signee. Yeah, he's got a luxury, right? He's got a Louisiana Tech signee, an LSU signee, and a Tulane signee, all at wide receiver. So, yeah, he's got a luxury. And but he also ran 2 more. You got all that to defend. He can run. He's got 2 more rushing touchdowns. That made the difference. His legs made a difference in a 21-19 win. And most importantly, Alex, he also ran to get the first down to seal the deal and ice away the win for In the Car. So he's a reason why this Car football team is highly talked about and has a chance to be the best team in the entire state.
Yeah, I'll be brief. You were at the game. I wasn't, so I didn't get the perspective on this. But doing it against Catholic, right? This is a classic one of those games where, the stat line doesn't sound too insane, but it's the opponent, it's the stakes, it's all of that. And he was the guy. He was the guy for a team that most people, and I mean, yeah, I'm here with everyone else, think probably the best team in the state, in the de facto best team in the state, and one of the best teams. It's hard to find 48 teams better than them in the nation, right? That's how good he is, and that's how good that entire team is. So congratulations to him, absolutely.
For sure, Alex, and we're out to the very end of this show, but I want to thank everybody that has donated, has voted, like they've been all year long. Really appreciate all of you guys. Some of these guys we talked about are playing in our Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game, and all the money that's being donated will go towards the Gridiron Football All-American Bowl game. So we really appreciate it. Even if you didn't donate and you voted, we appreciate your support for these high school athletes. And Alex, we only got 2 more of these to give out, so it's been very slim pickets, very limited, but you talked about it. Guys that stepped up in big games and had impressive stat lines. This is our number 1 guy. Franklinton High School, baby. Y'all get it. He came up short a couple weeks ago, and he finally won Gridiron Football Player of the Week. That is quarterback Jacob Crane. Congratulations, Jacob, for winning Gridiron Football Player of the Week. How about this? The Demons, aren't they pumped for the state championship? 17,140 votes for Jacob Crane, and actually he came up close the last time he got nominated. He just was the runner-up, but Jacob Crane, I know Grant had a great story about him. I got a chance to talk to Jacob right at the beginning of this run in the playoffs with him. Great young man, and this team has improved, and one of the greatest stories after winning 3 games last year and having to run an undefeated season. They lost 1 game, but still number 1 seed, having gone all the way to the state championship.
Like
they have a feel like, it's kind of a feel of an undefeated season with the 1 loss at Covington this year. But Jacob Crane, 15 for 24, 366 yards passing and 3 touchdowns and a 35-29 win over Iowa. And by the way, one of those 3 touchdown passes was the game winner to send Franklinton to the Superdome, where we'll see them play. Actually, as this is going on, you will be seeing this game right after we're done, between Franklinton and Cecilia. Jacob Crane, he's been the one leading the show. This is an underrated offense. This is a really good offense that can not only throw the ball with Jacob Crane, but they can run the football with Cy Austin. And Jacob Crane's been the one that's been running the show. He still has another year left. He's a 2026 quarterback, one of the more underrated players that we talked about. Has a chance to be one of the top guys as a senior next year, and has a chance to bring this team back to the Superdome next year, no matter how it goes tomorrow. But Alex, Jacob Crane, your Gridiron Football Week 14 Player of the Week.
Yeah, we talk about the Franklinton-Cecilia game, and this is a nice this is really well timed because this is a preview of the Franklinton-Cecilia game minutes before you're going to watch it. So we talk about this being a stylistic difference in how the teams win. Because Cecilia is this, we're going to pour it on you, score, unstoppable. Diesel Solari puts up video game numbers. The Franklinton quarterback, Jacob Crane he puts up really good numbers.
Yeah.
They're not Solari numbers usually.
Right.
But that's not a slight because they're very different teams. Franklinton knows how to win the close game. They know how to, when you get in the fourth quarter, you keep the game close, you go out and you win, and you do that because you have a quarterback who is clutch. And that's what this was. He had the game-winning drive. He put up a great game. It was a really impressive game. But it's the game-winning drive against an Iowa team that a lot of us thought was going to beat Franklinton. And, we doubted Franklinton because this team, the reason they kind of feel like an undefeated team is that it has a lot of the pitfalls that an undefeated team can have, that they keep winning all these really close games, these one-possession games. And that, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the variance to swing against them. For them, they keep not separating. Cecilia keeps separating. They keep not separating. Well, how are they going to keep doing this the entire time? How can he keep getting away with this? That's exactly what it feels like, but they keep doing it. And they keep beating these teams that feel like these buzzsaws that are just going to run through everyone. And they stay with him, and they score the game-winning touchdown because he's awesome. The entire team's awesome. We talked about Cy Austin before. The running back's great. But right now, it's about him, the Gridiron Football Player of the Week, and he deserves it because he's clutch. And he puts up a great game, and he plays well the entire way through, and he keeps his team in the game in a decently high-scoring affair, and he scores the game-winning touchdown. If they beat Cecilia tomorrow, we talked about what it'll look like if Cecilia wins. If Franklinton wins, it'll be because the game stays close, and it stays close throughout. Just like the Iowa game, Iowa separated from teams. If the game stayed, Iowa could kind of keep Franklinton in arm's reach, they were going to win that game. Cecilia needs to do that. Cecilia needs to score on every drive, keep Franklinton at an arm's reach. And Diesel Solari needs to be clicking and scoring fast and being explosive, and they could win this game 55-40.
Oh, yeah.
If Franklinton can stay with them, slow the game down a little bit, keep it within one score. That's how Franklinton wins. I picked Franklinton to win the game because it just feels like we keep picking against them and we keep doubting them, and and they just keep finding ways to win. And I'm just worried that might happen. Worried? I mean, it's not like I don't want them to win. You guys are awesome. Congratulations for Player of the Week. Thank you for all of the donations and the votes and all of that. And thank you so much to the Franklinton community. Congratulations congratulations to Franklinton and Jacob Crane for winning Player of the Week this week. Congratulations to him, and best of luck in the game tomorrow, as it is kickoffs happening in 3, 2, not exactly, but yes. But congratulations. We're going to see what happens. It's going to be a really exciting game. I think it'll be pretty high scoring with these two guys at the helm, Solari and Jacob Crane. Congratulations to Jacob. Today, you're victorious. We'll see what happens tomorrow or in 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I guess whenever you're watching this, right? But congratulations, Jacob. I know you came up short a couple weeks ago, but that's why you keep on nominating, you keep on voting, because if you fall short, you can win it, and Jacob Crane has. And people are wondering, okay, what does Jacob get? Well, Jacob, now, I'm not sure if it's going to be me because I know bowl game week's is approaching, but in fact, I've already talked to Jacob as well over a video interview for Ball in the Boot, but either me or Alex or Daryl or whoever will be conducting the interview next week with Jacob Crane and Coach Salts Formaggio. We're not going to be catching them tomorrow, obviously, for obvious reasons, but we'll be catching them after the season no matter what happens. So we'll make sure to catch up with Jacob Crane, and of course head coach Nick Salts Formaggio. Coach Salts Formaggio is in some great history. He's led 3 different teams to the state championship: East Jefferson, Hahnville, and now Franklinton. So great history. I mean, just a great place in history in Louisiana high school football. Alex, this is thanks everybody. Gridiron Football Player of the Week. Thank you to the Franklinton community. Really appreciate it. I know y'all great fans and supporters of Gridiron Football, and we'll be supporting the Demons, and hopefully the Demons will win a state championship. I believe the first time since I think 2010, I believe. But Alex, any final thoughts? Because we have just one more to give out of these Letterman jacket patches, which he will win. So he also get a Letterman jacket patch as well.
Yeah. One more to give out, and then the golden one at the very end for Player of the Year. Yeah, that's about it. We've had a very long day, and it's going to be a very long weekend. Kind of time to wrap things up. So, yeah, thank you to everybody for watching. Of course, congratulations to Jacob and to everybody, all the finalists and all the nominees for Player of the Week this week. And, yeah, that's about it. Yep. Thank you.
All right, Alex, we got one more of these. Week 15 was probably everybody from the Dome, the top performers from the Dome. Don't have to worry about nominations and all that.
Nope.
Just
it'll
be our choice then. So
we watched all the games.
There we go. We watched all the games by this point. But for Alex Allison, I'm Chase Luzerne. We'll see y'all next week, guys, on our postseason edition of a Gridiron Football Player of the Week.